I don't cold text, but if you say it works and you'll show me what to do, I'll do it. Sure. So that's what we look for, is people who are like, I don't know anything. I've been doing this 5 or 6 years. I'm successful, but I want to get to the next level and I want to use what you're doing. And then we take that and we say, okay, great. There's a big difference than being productive and being busy.
Yeah.
Have you been productive today? Because everybody can be busy. Everybody can go delete emails. Everybody can follow up on old leads. Following up on old leads is part of your job. Like, that's the ass end of your day. Your day should be generating new leads. If you're going to start and grow a business, you have to be the culture. Yeah. You have to be the guy. If I'm not in there making cold calls at 8 a.m., how am I going to expect my team to do it? And if I can't make the cold calls and I can't teach them what works and what doesn't, how am I going to grow a business?
Welcome back to the Prime People Podcast. Today, we're thrilled to have a true leader in New York City's luxury real estate scene, Brandon Bogard. I had the pleasure of watching him speak with his partner on stage at Sell It 2024. I was at Sell It because many of you know we got asked to actually present on stage ourselves. The Sirhan team has been a big part of our family for a very long time, but Brandon and his partner just blew my socks off in terms of all things operations. So in this episode, I'm going to pick his brain as if I'm having a one-to-one mastermind with him, asking him about things that I've struggled with, things you're probably struggling with, what's working, what's not. We're definitely going to talk about the state of the real estate market, obviously North America, south of the border. Would love to hear what your thoughts are of what happens after the election finally settles down, and then even talk about maybe some of the overlooked areas in NYC. So welcome to the Prime People Podcast.
Brother, thanks for having me. Damn, that's an intro. That was a really good Sell It, by the way, too. I was impressed with how received the intel we gave was. You know what I mean?
Bro, it was tactical. Like, so I had Fireflies, the AI note-taking app on.
That's amazing.
Unreal. And I got back, I'm like, here it is. And actually, one of my biggest things, and we'll start with this, was the standards. And I asked you the question. I was sitting in the front row, put my hand up, and I was like, how do you enforce standards? And your answer was, well, if you don't do them, you're just not here, right? That was basically what you said to me. You know, what does it mean to enforce standards? And I guess, what are the standards of the Bogard team?
So, you know, to enforce standards are things that are like non-negotiables. And as we're growing teams, we find that we like people and that we make exceptions. And the problem is, over time, when you make exceptions, that you give someone an inch, they take a mile. And it's just human nature. It's not a negative thing. We all do it by nature. If we're like, I can get away with that, I'll just stretch it a little bit there. So, you know, that's why we enforce standards. That, like, there's also, like, if someone will uphold the standards and they know that it's prevalent from the gate, and I'll get to like our standards. There's 3 that we really overarching, but more there. We feel like if we set that and then they follow it, they will hold those standards the way they operate with clients.
Sure.
So our main number one that we focus on, that we tell people, we have a 90-day dating period when we start. And I think you heard that too. And we say, you know, look, we're going to get to know each other over 90 days. And in the first 30, we'll really know if it's a fit. Our number one is honesty. And so honesty is one of those things that we've learned over time that people will tell. In real estate, it's really easy because we're used to telling people what they want to hear. And as a business leader, it's easier for me to change behavior. Like, it's easier if someone calls me up and says, hey, I accidentally said this. I'm kind of in a pickle because I caught with my pants down. It's not true. I was lying to get an offer. And we're like, okay, thanks for that. Let me help you strategize and save your ass. And it's okay if we swear on this?
You're fine.
Okay. So let me help you. But the problem is if someone lies to me blatantly and they're like, I'm like, why is this deal blowing up? And why is this client pissed? And they're like, I have no idea. They're just being crazy. And it comes out that you said something wrong and then you lied to me.
Sure.
It goes back to that old saying. If you've ever seen the movie, that Netflix show Ozarks, where the lady gets caught stealing in one of the first episodes, and he goes, what do you do? It's, if you don't know, in the show Ozarks, there's a lady who gets nicking money from the register.
Yeah.
And then the guy goes, as a test, he goes, what do you think I do with the lady? Do I punish her or do I let her go? And he goes, you punish her, because it's not the first time she stole from you. It's the first time she got caught. So I really resonate with that behavior, that if you're honest with me about the dirtiest laundry, then you'll be honest with me about everything. And then if we build, because trust is earned, it's not given. And so like, if you're honest with me about, you don't know what you're doing, you messed up, you do these things, we will build trust together, and you will become a professional of being honest, of being like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, I messed up here, I messed up there. So, there's other things too, like client always first, honesty, we before the team. And so we just set those standards, and if it ever falls off, you know what it is. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because what you said tracks to the three things we look for in our candidates are intelligence, integrity, and energy, right? And that integrity piece, you can't train that to a certain degree, right? You can give people that comfort and that trust. I love that you said that like, don't be scared to tell me you messed up. Like, you're human. We're all going to mess up. It's what you do when things go sideways. And a mentor of mine once told me, every problem is the biggest marketing opportunity you've ever had. But if you're being lied to, it could be the worst thing for your culture and your brokerage. Have you guys ever had that on your team, dealing with internal culture conflicts that you had to nip in the bud? Because I definitely have.
Yeah. And we used to, like, this is what we now have implemented. So we've let go. I've rebuilt a team 3 different times over the last 17 years.
Yeah.
And so now they're just non-negotiables of what I say is like, we don't rehabilitate, we coach.
Yeah.
But I don't rehabilitate behavior. So we make these hurdles of like, if you cross this line of, honesty,
sure,
it's instantly gone.
Yep.
If you cross this line of like over leveraging tools and systems of like asking for things and not producing, instantly gone.
Interesting.
And so it's just like you just said, we look for the behavior that we know is coachable and will be huge performers. And we just weed people out like as they go. And so we're very, very selective now on who we let in. Yeah. And generally it comes from doing a deal together, or we've done deals side by side, or someone we meet in an outing or something. They bring clients to a listing and we're like, I really like that guy. And we snoop them and we stalk them for a little while. And we bring people to their listings. We fake call them and stuff. And so through that process, we've now got very like-minded people. Yeah. And people who have approached us who didn't make it have also told their friends. So now when we get their friends who are interested in joining the team, they know that the bar of entry is very high to wear the jersey, the Bogard New York jersey.
I love everything about that. I just had Sam Jarofsky in my office, new agent at Prime, and he had been running around interviewing everywhere. And he's like, I didn't realize you guys don't hire people. I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? He's like, well, I heard like the rumor mill is basically you don't hire, like you're not hiring. Like, how did I get an interview? And I'm like, it came via referral. Like every single person that's here came at a cosign of somebody else, or they would come to our masterminds, which we would host. We do our live podcast at our baller properties, just fun events, right? Yeah. And that's where I would see people that have integrity and the energy and the vibe that, like, if we were in the same market, we'd probably find a way to work together 100%. Because we align in a lot of different ways, right? And I think your tactic at how you do that's fantastic. I do want to pull something out of that though, so I don't gloss over it. You said you look for like the 2 or 3 characteristics that make a top producer or somebody who's a good fit. So like, what do you think makes a great agent in 2024?
Coachability. So the world is changing so fast that you don't know. I don't know what resonates with people, and you have to be able to adapt to and the world is very opinionated and separated in a lot of different ways, like the way people communicate. You can be an email, you can be a text, you can be a phone person. There's people who resonate with online ads or cold calling or texting and running a business. So we just look what I try to look for is like ask questions, and where people will answer with questions. So like, what do you think about online leads, right? Or generating online leads that are not paid for, like, and so when people are like, sure, I'll learn it. I don't know it, but I'll learn it. Or I look for unopinionated people where they're like, sure, I'll try, right? Sure. What we don't want is a know-it-all, because I don't even know it all. I know what works for our system. And then I want to find people that I can give the things that I know, and that they will then go and generate business and take those frameworks and put their spin on it. And all the people we have on our team are doing that. And so we're just trying to find more people who will say, I don't know what I don't know. I know you're killing it. I want to do that with you. And to find an unbiased person who's like, I've never done cold calling, but if it gets me $12 million listing, sure. I don't cold text, but if you say it works and you'll show me what to do, I'll do it. Sure. So that's what we look for, is people who are like, I don't know anything. I've been doing this 5 or 6 years. I'm successful, but I want to get to the next level and I want to use what you're doing. And then we take that and we say, okay, great. Forget everything you know, unless it's something really amazing. I'm like, keep doing that. But that's it. We look for just super vulnerable, unopinionated, honest, hardworking people that are like, sure, I'll try all new stuff. It's hard. It's exhausting.
Dude, it is. But I think you touched on so many good things there. Like, the people that act like it usually don't have it. The people that have it usually don't act like it. Right. So I always make a parallel to real estate to jiu-jitsu, where if I'm going to an academy and I'm going to train, even the black belts are there learning every day, because they know that you're never finished learning. You're going to learn something new. You're going to advance in age. Things change in the market. But who are you on the mats with and who are you rolling with? And I think, again, of the comparison of somebody that comes into a market where things shift, right? Monetary policy changes, election cycles happen. People are more divided and more off kilter than they ever have been before. But who are they looking for? They're looking for the agent that knows how to drive the bus, the market expert, the person who knows how to market and negotiate like nobody's business. Yep. And if you get those right people in your ecosystem and you're training with them, you're on the mats with them, you get so much better by having the right energy around you versus people that say social media doesn't work, cold calling doesn't work, open houses don't work. All of those are incorrect statements. Correct. They don't work for you, maybe because of how you're doing them, right?
Or just based on your opinion right there. Like, when people say cold calling doesn't work, I'm like, well, tell me, how many cold calls have you made? Yeah. Like, not today. I mean, in this week, this month, this quarter. Do you even have that information? Because, we take agents who, here's a perfect example. We have an agent on our team, and I think we told this at Sell It. Her first listing was 1.75 million expired listing. Her second listing was 11.5 million sold in 7 months, all cash from a cold text. Wow. And so we have tons of studies like that where I'm like, she was new to the business and was like, I just want to focus on luxury listings. And so I said, great, here's what we're going to do. You're not going to get one your first 90 days. You're going to stumble through conversations your first 30 days. You're going to get torn apart. But over the next 60 days, you'll get better at talking to ultra high net worth people. And you need to audit how you're talking to people. Sure. You need to see where you dropped the ball, where the conversation stopped, why you got shown to what you didn't know, and then get better on the next one, get back on the saddle. Dude, it was like literally day 75 meeting. And then from there, we went on, she's got some other big ones cooking, but she probably went on about close to 20 listing presentations, all north of $10 million, and is still nurturing that book of business. So when people are like, cold calling, cold text doesn't work, I'm like, sure. I don't even debate with people anymore. I'm like, okay, yeah.
I was talking to a boy at your office, actually. Dan O'Neill's a friend, and we were just joking about the cold calling stuff he's been doing at Syrian because I think it's hilarious. Yeah. And I'm like, let's do a Shark Tank. Let's go live on Instagram. I do calls with my team here on Tuesdays. So I'm like, let's get on live. So maybe we'll do a Bogard, O'Neill, and Prime collab where we're just making calls because they do work, but it's what you said, right? Are you auditing what you're doing and refining your process? Because you can keep making 200 calls a week, but if you're like, nope, didn't book any appointments. Nope, didn't book any appointments. Like, well, what are you saying to them to not get to that next stage of the appointment? Because it'd be like trying to learn an arm bar in jiu-jitsu. If I keep doing the same thing over and over, it's not working. We'll go to a black belt.
Yeah.
So I guess sticking on cold calling, because it's a really important topic for our team right now. Yeah. What makes an effective cold call? How do you break the ice? How do you get the appointment?
This is a great question. So how I learned it, I built my business on cold calling, and then I started calling more and more high net worth people. And one time I called a developer. I was trying to break into new development, and I called this guy, and he tore me apart in like 2 seconds. He just was like, listen, if you're going to call me, you need to, oh no, here's how it happened. He basically was like, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. And he hung up on me. So I was like, motherfucker. I called him right back, and I was like, okay. So if I was going to cold call you again in the future, give me some pointers on what it would be. And he goes, well, first of all, don't ask me how I'm doing. You're calling me out of the blue. Get straight to the point, who you are, why you're calling me, and why it's relevant to me. And I go, okay, understood. So the rest of the day, I told everyone, I was like, hey, my name is Brandon Bogard. I'm a real estate agent from Surahan. I see you had this property on the market. It came off. Are you still a buyer? Are you still a seller at 6.6 million? Right.
Yeah.
So I cold called him the very next day again, and he answered it. And we called very early, and I was like, hey, this is Brandon Bogard with Surahan. I see you're building a building. You know, comps say that you can achieve 1150 a foot here. Is that something you're trying to do or exceed those? Because our marketing at other buildings have done that. And he goes, that's a much better cold call. And then he hung up on me again. But that lesson of me calling him and asking him taught me what we tell people is like, say exactly why you're calling. Don't ask them for anything else. Just say who you are, why you're calling, and then shut up. So like an example is, I just got one for we're going on a pitch for a $40 million penthouse. Sure. And so I just literally called him. He hung up in mid-sentence, and so I texted him. But I said, hey, this is Brandon Bogard. This is a cold call. I saw your penthouse came off the market. We're one of the top real estate teams in the city, and I know you get approached a bunch, but would you like an approach from someone who sold similar properties using video and media? And he hung up on me. So then I just texted him. I said, I know you're super busy, whatever. And he's like, no response. So I went back to him. I said, look, here's how many properties have traded. Clearly you're a seller. You've raised that flag. I'm only trying to help you. And if you want a third opinion on how you can get that and how it's being done with other companies, I just need 5 minutes of your time to come by. I'm not going to waste an ounce of it. Okay, you can come by.
Amazing. Yeah.
So it's just not taking no and telling them what it is. And it's not about you, making it about them.
Yeah, somebody said that actually before I spoke at the conference. I had 2 back-to-back conferences, and they said so many people get on stage and they make it about themselves, what they've accomplished, and so on and so forth. I think what you guys did exceptionally well was think about the people watching and give them tactical and practical things that they can take away. Same thing with leads, right? Like I find the best calls I make, I did it in front of my team like 2 weeks ago, where it was a 5 or 6 year old lead in my database. And I didn't overthink it. I just called them. I said, hey, it's Justin from Prime. You had inquired on this property. Just wondering if you're still in the market. And I always get 1 of 3 answers. Yes, no, never call me again, right? Like the I hate you losers. You can go trash and you don't need to be in my database. But the other 2, you're either a long-term nurture or you're somebody looking to do something right now. I think people get paralysis by analysis and imposter syndrome. I don't know the market. I don't know my stuff. So they don't pick up the phone. They don't take the action that they know will lead to the goals that they have. Right. And did you ever have that at any point in your career, that paralysis by analysis or imposter syndrome?
It still happens. If I get out of cycle and making calls and stuff, and I can be like, I don't want to mess with these people. And getting cold calling never gets easier, right? Yeah. Getting rejection, you get better at taking it, but it never gets easy. You get better at taking it. And I for sure still go through ebbs and flows where I've got to get back on, eat shit for a little bit, get a bunch of no's. And then I'm like, it's just a matter of time. Now, and here's what I tell my team. Now I have his phone number. Now I have their email. Now I know that they're the homeowner. It's just a matter of time of how many no's I'm going to take, because one of us has to die first. I'm going to still keep calling. You know what I mean?
I love that. So, well, it's the same thing as anything, right? Music, art, cold calling, jiu-jitsu. If you're not practicing the thing at least 2 hours a week, I don't think you can actually say that you practice that thing. And a real estate agent, in my opinion, if you're not learning 2 hours a week, you're not prospecting 2 hours a week, and you're not marketing yourself 2 hours a week, that's a 6-hour work week. I don't think you can really consider yourself a real estate agent, but a lot of agents like to play real estate agents on social media, right?
This is a big thing where I tell my team all the time. I'm like, there's a big difference than being productive and being busy.
Yeah.
Have you been productive today? Because everybody can be busy. Everybody can go delete emails. Everybody can follow up on old leads. Following up on old leads is part of your job. Like that's the ass end of your day. Your day should be generating new leads, and it should be generating new, very lucrative opportunities for yourself. And then you go follow up on your other stuff. So being busy is not what we do. We want to be busy on the back end of the day. We want to be productive on the front half of the day. So make sure you're productive.
I like that actually a lot. A little light bulb went off too, because like I changed my work schedule and our meeting cadence, because I find like my brain is on in the morning. Like I do my morning routine, and then once I'm in my zone, like 8:30 to 11, I find people are in a better mood, and I'm just on my game a little bit more.
Look, here's another thing that I was very aware of. Like when we get lots of cold calls in New York City about, like, now we're very easy to find. So people are always calling me about leads and so one day I was like, why did I take that call? And I was like, oh, it's 8:15 in the morning. I was at my office and I'm like, how many other rich people have I been calling at 2 p.m? And so now I don't make cold calls or cold texts or cold outreach after 11 o'clock, because the type of clientele I'm trying to attract, they're up very, very early and their day is slammed by 9:30. So my golden hours are from 7:45 to 9:30 the latest. So generally I don't get much done for prospecting wise after that. And you'd be surprised how many times I've cold called someone at 7:50 in the AM and the guy picks up and he's like, what's up? Talk to me. I got 5 minutes for you. Sure. We're looking at, we'll take the meeting. And developers, I generally call between 7:30 and 9. And those guys are like, hey, what do you want? Yep, I'm interested in taking the meeting. Sure. I've heard of you, blah, blah, blah. Let's do it. So now we don't even do it unless you want to, but me personally, I do not do it past, we're calling ultra high net worth people, developers. And so people, I just noticed anything, me as well. So I'm like, those are my golden hours. And then I do all the sloppy the unbrained work at the end of the day that I don't really need to think too much about because I'm fried. I've been talking for 10 hours by that point. By 2:30, I'm like, okay, I'm ghosted here. I'm dead.
Yeah, you're the second person on the podcast to say that. The other was Andy Tse. So he's one of the top agents in Silicon Valley, an absolute weapon. And he said the same thing after 10 a.m. Like, you can't control your day. Nobody can. Same with the developers and the ultra rich. I find the 8 to 9 window, I'm batting like 90% getting to the people that I want to get to. They're in a good mood. Nothing's really blown up in their face yet for the day. So I think that was ultra tactical. You started in luxury fashion and then transitioned to luxury real estate. What was that dynamic like? Because I'm sure you have a great database from your time in fashion, right?
Well, there's a couple things that translate with that. And it's what helped us was to create a brand. And how do people resonate with dictating what is luxury and what's not? Okay. So when it's about curation, what fashion taught me was curation with marketing. So how do we start from a consumer's perspective of what feels like luxury? Because luxury is not a price point, it's a feeling. I'm sure you've heard that before, right? Sure. It's an experience. Yeah. So how do we make the experience elevated, even if it's a $4 million property and we're doing it at a $40 million property? So Sirhan has a lot of great tools that we use. And then they were for $10 million and up properties. And I'm like, well, if we're doing this now and we're making these custom brochures and books and everything, why would we not do it? And it's 10 million and it's only a couple $1,000. Why would we not do it for $5 million properties? And then the $5 million properties started exploding and we started selling more of those. We already had them, excuse me. But I'm like, this whole elevated experience so we create brand identities, we create a custom property website, we create type fonts and colorways and all this stuff, and then a printed brochure and then a branded floor plan. And so everything is cohesive from the outside in for the prospective buyer. And that's what working in luxury fashion taught me, was curation of an experience. And then when we started doing that top down from developments to very high-end properties, we started doing it with like what in New York is sort of middle tier luxury, like 4 to 8 million. And then it resonated really well with those buyers. And so we're like, well, how do we now do it for just even, sorry, I apologize.
You're totally fine.
Is for now we're doing it with everything. And then how do we create that experience in video, in storytelling, for everything? So that's what it taught me, is like, make not what a real estate agent wants. What does a consumer feel like it should be? And why would you not put the more extra effort into what the consumer feels and looks like, instead of grabbing some photos and putting them up and waiting and it's fairly cheap to do. And with AI, you can do websites and all this stuff fairly quickly. You can go get branding packages made, a couple $100 a month, buy a program and they'll help you do it. But that's what we've done, is treat everything as a destination versus like, let's just treat every real estate by a price point. let's curate the experience of buying the home and what the home actually is. And that's exploded our brand.
Yeah, I think you guys have a very polished brand. I think you have a very polished identity in terms of who works at your team, how do they get onboarded, what does it take to be here? And I like that that translates over to your client files. And I try and do that with our listings too, where I don't want to just be another 5,000 square foot house with this many bedrooms and the lot is this size so that people just equate me versus the other comps on the street. Well, that one has 4 bedrooms and the lot is this size. Like, tell me something about the property I can't find on MLS. Speak to what else am I getting other than the actual house and the lot that I'm purchasing? What lifestyle community am I buying myself into? And you can translate a lot of that through marketing, but I don't think people realize the difference that can go into a proper plan and execution on a listing or a new development with somebody like yourself versus hiring the guy that's going to just do it for the cheapest, because that will translate into the dollars you put in your pocket at the end of the day, because price is only an objection in the absence of value. But if your agent didn't do enough to showcase value, then you're going to get what you're going to get, right? What is your process for going after a listing and breaking it down and turning it into its own brand identity, I guess? Like, what goes into that? What components are you looking at? I'd love to just hear from you.
You know, sometimes it's like, it's a bunch of different things. Sorry. Jesus. Dude.
Yeah, you're good. He's making deals, people. That's why it's happening.
I have it on D&D, and so a developer has texted me a bunch of times. They just got a new lot, so
this isn't the Super Bowl, bro. I'm not that concerned
okay.
about it.
So it depends. Like, you know, look, you can be in Soho, New York City, and it's a very fashion forward like destination of a neighborhood. And so we'll try to do type fonts of like things that are like black and white and bold fonts that resonate with the clientele that like generally live there. Sure. Or it can be a townhouse in Brooklyn. And we just sold this one at the first open house. We closed it in 11 days, it's a $6 million property. We took it over from someone who couldn't sell it in a year. We did the developer goes, yeah, look, I don't know if the video and all that website stuff really works, but I know you guys sell a lot of real estate and I'm here for it. So let's just see if we can get it done.
See what happens. Yeah.
So we made the website, we made the property brochure, we made the book, we put everything's cohesive. The sign matches the book, everything's there. You know, we had 15 people at the first open house. One person stood we have a YouTube video about this. It just came out. And the people stood in the backyard and said, we're not leaving. We want to start our offer here, call the developer and make this offer. And so that whole house, it's the last one on our YouTube channel.
I'm pulling up your YouTube right now to watch it after. Yeah. 100%.
And so it all happened. And here's a really cool thing that happened with this. These people said, we saw the previous listing and then we saw all of the effort that you guys put into it. We had to come see it. So we sold it all cash. Then one of our agents was circle dialing the neighborhood from the houses. And someone said, oh, 439 Fifth, we actually put an offer in on that house. And we saw your team's marketing after. We would like you to come over and market our house.
Amazing.
On the phone. So this guy, they've never, and they're going, oh, you're with the Bogard New York team? Yes, we actually made an offer at 439 Fifth Street. We saw everything that you did for that house. Will you come sell our smaller townhouse and then we'll go buy another big townhouse with you? This all happened on the phone just from the effort we put in branding. And that's Zach from our team. He just made that cold call to someone. So you forget that homeowners watch the effort that you put into this stuff as well. And so, you know, real estate agents get really lost in being in a line item of like, this can be expensive. And it's like, yes, this one transaction is going to be expensive. And it will get expensiver and expensiver over time. But the effort you put in there will separate you as a market leader. And we've had so many, now developers are coming to us, calling us out of the blue from the effort we put in to putting in development marketing. And now they just call us up and they're like, hey, I'm Steve. I got this lot.
What do you think?
I follow you guys on Instagram. You're killing it. I love all the video. I love your YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah. And then it's a flywheel. You know, the more you put into it, people watch, especially real estate. Everyone loves real estate, man. So make it entertaining for the public. Even though they're not a buyer or seller now, they're a buyer or seller, especially in your marketplace. They will be at some point. And the person who made that marketing stand out, they will remember your brand.
Yeah, I love that entire story. Do you read? Do you like audiobooks or paperback books?
Love books. My wife gets mad at me because I buy them in droves.
Have you read The War of Art?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I got to think of a different one to send you, but that's the whole premise of that book. I was going to send you a gift as a guest. I'll think of another one. But that book's whole premise is just show up, just show up, just show up. And then eventually the muse shows up. It sounds very much like the story you just told, right?
Yeah. Because when we first started doing this branding stuff, it's still super expensive, right? We have our own marketing person. We have a place that holds websites. We have to do graphic design. We have our own videographer. And then my wife's like, dude, we can't keep doing this. This is like our line item is like our P&L is like,
that's my wife. My wife says the exact same things.
And then all of a sudden it starts exploding and she's like, oh wait, how do we need to hire a second marketing person? So she's great. I'm the big picture of like, let's just do all this. And then it's not, okay, let's find the most cost-effective way.
Have you read Rocket Fuel?
No.
I'm sending you that book. Do you want the audio or paperback?
Paperback. I'm a paperback guy.
I'm going to text you after. I'll get that in your hands. But that book is all about the visionary and the integrator. And my wife and I have the same dynamic. So my wife's the broker of record. She's the CEO brain. She's an MBA from the Richard Ivey School of Business. Shout out to Shannon. She's the Wizard of Oz online. She doesn't even have Instagram. And I'm very much just, let's try everything and spend all the money. It'll work out. And we've gone back and forth on like, okay, Justin, just how are we tracking the ROI on some of these items? And some of them you can't track the ROI on because it's higher level, but other things you can. But I think a lot of it has to do with guys like you and I being honest with ourselves of sometimes being like, tried that, definitely didn't work. And then constantly pivoting, right? So going back to what we were talking about, what are you guys working on now? Like you probably have your 80% base that you know what works. You know how to generate listings, activity, open houses, convert clients. What's the 20% that maybe you're not as good at or you're learning or excited about right now?
Market growth in online ads. So
interesting.
We're very hand-to-hand combat of like doing lead generation through phones and cold texting, and we have ISAs and things like that. I never thought that you could really get luxury listings or developers with Instagram or Facebook or TikTok ads.
Sure.
And I was proven wrong, completely wrong. So I was like, it has to work. Like no one in our market's doing it. One. And this is what fashion taught me. It's like, where's the gap?
Sure.
What is cool? What's trending? So I went on TikTok and Instagram and I just watched a bunch of ads that I liked and ones that I hated. And then I looked at a bunch of things. Then I made an ad targeted on Instagram for developers. And then I got a lead like in 2 weeks. A guy DM'd me and was like, hey, I keep seeing your video and your ad. We should sync up. And he's like a super, super high-end developer. And I was like,
was the ad like you talking to him? Like, hey, if you're a developer looking for a team to sell your properties, was something along those lines?
So it was a more aesthetic one because those guys look, they're aesthetically, they know. So it was like, I have to make something. So it was a carousel post. It was well done.
Cool.
I'll send you the creheretive.
Yeah,
it was 10 slides and it says, here's why the top developers are working with the Bogard New York team. And then it was here's some examples of why the developers are working with the Bogard New York team. And then it was just shots of the building in black and white. And then it said like 129 Hudson Street, luxury resale in Soho, 14 units, half sold. Next one, 11 units, fully sold out.
Yeah.
So it was all results. And at the end, it was a photo of me and my wife. And I think Ryan's in that in front of one of the buildings. And then that had tons of clicks, which it's a lagging metric that I'm learning to be omnipresent. So I'm going really heavy in retargeting people from the Bogard New York website. And I swallowed my pride and I basically just went in ChatGPT and was like, fucking Alex Hormozy's everywhere. Like, how do I rip off? He says online works. It has to work. I mean, if he's not, if someone can get me to buy shoes from an Instagram ad, I can get someone to go to my website to look at luxury real estate. So I've been going all in on learning ads myself so that I can teach it to someone. And that's what I always feel like. If I can teach it to someone how I want it to be done, then I can teach my agents. And so right now I'm going through this phase of burning a lot of cash on how to create good ads. And it's starting to work. I'm starting to learn what resonates. And then the retargeting ones of like, hey, you've been to my website. You've looked at this. I know you're probably interested in buying or selling. Just send me a quick DM right here to get a no pressure free consultation on buying or selling a luxury property in New York City. And that one we just put out, and it's like, it's only in Meta. You can go and put in, once you have your thing, you can put it to your most top visited people. So that's people who've come the most through retargeted ads. You can select videos just to go to them. And you can be like, what are you doing, bro? You've been to my site. Like, why? Let's talk. You know what I mean? You can make a very, and you can do it on your iPhone. And that's the great thing about technology. Now it's just you need to teach yourself how to utilize these tools because everyone's using it. Everyone's glued to their phone. Why are you not doing ads? And that's where I was like, okay, that's what I'm learning now. And we're starting to get traction with it. Soon it'll be a big
full circle though, because we talked about cold calling and making calls and like deciding what language works, what language doesn't work, right? And like greasing the groove. It's the same thing here where like even this podcast normally used to live on my channel. I met with a guy who's amazing at YouTube. Shout out Roberto Blake, wrote The Creator Economy. And he's like, no, dude, like you have to pull it off this channel and launch a new channel that is only the podcast so that the algorithm can do its thing and find more of those people. Similar to the ones that you're discussing, right? If you're targeting those people and you're getting more of those people, naturally, you're going to have a clear understanding of how to get to the exact right fit client. But you don't get there by just hiring some 14-year-old kid that says he runs a digital agency or like outsourcing it. Learning to make the sauce is incredibly important, right?
That's right. And there's an amazing university that's free. It's called youtube.com. And you can learn everything you can learn everything you want to learn. And that's it, bro. I spend time on like, why does this work? And I don't want to hire. Everyone's so quick to hire someone and have a fee or try it for a weekend and burn $200 and say it doesn't work. And I'm like, it works. $200 isn't going to be it. And that's what I took away from Alex Hormozy's book about that. And he's like, burn 10 grand and call me. Because I looked at the metrics we went for the year and it cost me about $3,500 to get that one lead through different ad iterations. But that dude saw all those ads and that thing, he's a developer. He's not a one-time sell where I'll make, 50, 60K. I will make over the lifetime of working with him, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
and the lifetime value of that client, right? And that's where we have a very different perspective than other agents that don't like to spend money. Actually, right next to me, I've got Ryan McLean. So he's actually a grass-fed beef farmer. He was at Sell It With Me 2024. I just picked up a lead for you, and it was a $35 lead from primefarms.ca. And I know that because I was in the back end of it. And I'm like, hey, it cost me that much to acquire that lead. What was the quality of that conversation? What did they respond to in the messaging, and what do we need to change, right? So for anybody watching this, I think sometimes they can look at a guy like you and think, oh, he's just got this team. He's got all these people behind him. There's no way I can do something like that. I think it's encouraging to hear that you're actually in there yourself, messing around and trying to see what works, right?
Yeah, look, that if you're going to start and grow a business, you have to be the culture. Yeah. You have to be the guy. If I'm not in there making cold calls at 8 a.m., how am I going to expect my team to do it? And if I can't make the cold calls and I can't teach them what works and what doesn't, how am I going to grow a business?
For sure.
So I need to be able to, and if, and the only reason why I have other people who now cold call for me and I make my own cold calls, right? But I was able to teach them how I like it. So I was like, I know this works because I spent a year getting told F off, F you, this doesn't work. Shorten it down. Here's what you say. Here's how you follow up, and made a checklist of things to do. So I'm going through that thing of here's how best practices for running real estate ads right now. And I'm just burning cash on it and learning.
So, I know the feeling. Your wife and my wife can probably talk and have a little therapy session with the money that we're both spending. When you're handing, so like on the scripting side of things, be curious about this. When you're having, like, say I'm sitting down with Ryan, I'm like, hey, I want you to call commercial developers. This is what I know about what's important to them. Are you giving that to him on like an action plan and follow-up boss, or is it on a piece of paper with like, here's exactly what you're going to say in sequence? How are you translating that information?
So we do it with sink or swim. There's this, I'm a big football person, like American football. And in Texas, that's where I'm originally from. There's two religions. There's first religion, and then the second religion is Christianity, and the second one's football.
Okay.
So there's a saying, they say it's two dogs, one bone. So like everybody's fighting for the same thing, right? This is what I tell our team too, is like, you know what it is. There's one bone here. So you're going to do everything in your power that works for you. And you're going to do everything for you and your power that works for you. but there's only one bone. Someone's going to win, and that's it. So I give them what I think works for me. And I say, you're going to figure out, you're going to tweak this over the next 30 days and get a lot of road rash. And you're going to find out how to alter this thing and find your cadence in it. But right now, here's what I say. Hey, this is Brandon Bogard. I see you're developing things at 1439 Pacific Street. Looks like it's going to be condos. We've sold a lot of stuff in the neighborhood. So from that, we have a surplus of buyers, and we also know the trends that are, selling. And I know before you tell me it's too late to talk to a broker, I disagree, because this is where we always get introduced, and all of our clients have had a top exit on their development.
Interesting.
And then I shut up, and then they go, we are doing condos. And I go, great. Tell me a little bit more about them. And then you start the question and discovery process. But you have to say who you are, why you're calling, and then shut up. That's the most problem with biggest real estate agents' problem, is they don't know when to stop talking or when to start asking questions. They talk about themselves. They talk about the market. They talk about their last sale. They talk about what they do, why them. It's not about you. I see your building. Tell me about it.
I love that. Well, the commission reduction conversation, that's the biggest advice I give my agents. So like, somebody asks you for a discount, what's the answer? It's like, no. That's a full sentence. But agents make a huge mistake of over explaining themselves and all the reasons why. And like, by the time you're halfway through that, it shows a position of weakness. I think it's similar to when you're talking to a developer, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is your problem. How can I help? Listen, versus here are all my accolades, name dropping and this, that, and the other. They've heard that from everybody, and they genuinely don't care. Right.
I mean, trust me, they're going to ask you in the conversation as you get there. So just save it, if you're calling and you know how to. And then also, second tier commission reduction is my favorite, is when we're sitting with someone and they're like, yeah, listen, I only want to pay 4%. And I go, okay, what's more important to you? Is 14 million more important to you, or is the 4% commission? And they go, with 14 million. I go, then I'm your broker. If the commission is important to you, I'm not your broker. I'm not you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's value's only an objection, or price is only an objection in the absence of value, right? And if you think it's cheap to hire a professional, you should see what it would cost you to hire an amateur.
That's it too. And then I also, this is a great one if you're an agent and I've learned this one years ago, when people are like, well, listen, maybe we can meet in the middle. And I go, are you ready to sign an agreement today? I have an agreement with me. If you're ready to sign it, we can go item by item of what I'll cover and what you can expect. If not, let's save that for when you're ready to make a decision on someone.
I love it.
I don't discuss commission with non-clients.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely love that. We could go back and forth for hours. I do got to get you out of here because I told you 45 minutes, and I know you're a busy guy. We'll do some masterminding next time I'm in New York City for sure. I got to come back and do some stuff with Mr. Bob Knackle, who I missed last time when I was there. Couple rapid fire questions, and I will get you out of here. What is a book or podcast that you listen to or have read that you think all my listeners should hear as well?
Never Eat Alone. And well, there's three that I read every year, reread. Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt. Never Eat Alone. I forget the person who wrote it. And then Atomic Habits.
Incredible. Yeah, Atomic Habits is phenomenal. I've heard of Never Eat Alone, and I'm sending you rocket fuel. So do not forget to send me your address when we're done this. The last question, how has failure shaped your life?
Failure is amazing. If you're not failing, you're not learning. And if you're not learning, you're not growing. Like you fail. There's two things. Like I tell people this, when you're in sports, there's two outcomes. It's W's and L's, wins and losses. The amazing thing about life is there's also W and L's, but there's only wisdoms and lessons. Wisdom, you get wiser because it worked. Lesson is you get your ass handed to you and you know what not to do next time. So life's filled, just like sports, with W's and L's, and you're gonna accumulate them. So just lean into it and take them by the handfuls.
Absolutely killed it. And you're absolutely right. I think there's only perceived loss. All of my largest growth has come during the most painful moments probably in my career. So appreciate you, Mr. Brandon Bogard. If you're in New York City, make sure to check out the teams, especially if you're building buildings. Follow him on all the platforms. I'm going to go creep his YouTube and his Instagram and be inspired. Make sure to share this podcast out with somebody that you think would enjoy it, and we'll catch you on the next one, my man.
Thanks, brother. Hit me up when you're back in New York.
I'll do that 100%.